Listen to what Thierry Henry said.
No, it's been magnificent. The run, the awareness. I mean, people will tell you, yeah, okay, what's so difficult about that? Is some people don't see sometimes what's happening on the field, and his head was always up. This is what I'm saying. This guy has that little contagious. This is what I like. Okay, I see space, I see grass. Okay, let me go in there. What about now? Can I beat you to the spot? Yeah, I beat you to the spot. If you touch me, it's a penalty. But his awareness, strength, and yes, you can be cocky. When you play like that, you can be cocky. Yes, you can sometimes. He delivered against Liverpool. And like I said, it's contagious. He's been there for, a minute? Obviously, I'm going far with that one. But the Napoli fans love him because he plays with his heart, he has skills, but he brings something different.
Henry has warned us about this Georgian guy, but nobody even noticed.
What do you think about Khvicha, Kvaratskhelia? I was looking at him and I can say who's gonna sign this player will sign one of the best talents around. One of the best talents around. I was impressed by this player.
Those words from Henry are not for fun. Kvaratskhelia is a real beast this season.
Kvaratskhelia, le double contact! Que c'est soyeux de la part de Khvicha, Kvaratskhelia qui s'offre un doublé!
I know, his name is hard to read, but it would be a lot harder to face him when he is with the ball.
Kvaratskhelia, ahí está, Kvaratskhelia!
Best player in the Champions League this season? Mbappé, Declan Rice, or Dembele, the one who just won the Ballon d'Or? No, it has to be Kvaratskhelia.
He was phenomenal. For what you want from him and what you want to see him do, phenomenal. Like, we've had this conversation before, and there's a difference between a dribbler and a regular attacking or front three player. Kvara is special. Like, let everyone know now, watching him play, if you get the opportunity to watch him play, he is special. Enjoy it, because players like him do not come around.
He's in his best form. Literally no one can stop him right now. Not Chelsea, not Liverpool, and not even Bayern Munich.
Kvaratskhelia has ruined his career by moving to PSG.
League One, Champions League, Ballon d'Or. It all feels like a destiny already written. Who would dare stand up and challenge that fate?
You have to show them that you are really Quaradonas.
35 matches, 21 goals, 10 assists, 31 goal contributions from a winger, not a striker. In the middle of relentless pressing, defensive duties, and being the most fouled player in the squad, these numbers already sound impossible. But for Kvaratskhelia, this is only the opening act. And if you think that's enough, then look at the absolute insanity he produced in the Champions League. 10 goals, 6 assists, 16 goal contributions in the Champions League. PSG all-time single-season Champions League record officially has a new owner, and the man he surpassed was none other than Dembele, the reigning Ballon d'Or winner himself. And if we zoom out even further, across the entire Champions League this season, only 2 players matched Kvaratskhelia's combined goals and assists tally: Mbappé and Harry Kane. And you already know the funniest part, both of them are already out of the competition.
Kvaratskhelia is my guy, man. I love Khvicha so much. I think he's the best big game player in the world right now. He's got 14 goal involvements in the Champions League this season. He turns up when it matters. And I don't know if you guys saw the quote, I think it was from the PSG Sporting Director, who said, like, if you change your name, you're the front runner for the Ballon d'Or. He said something like that.
Now let's focus on one specific match, the first leg Champions League semi-final between PSG and Bayern Munich.
That'll go in. There's no doubting that he'll find the net. So accurate. Hakimi's suddenly free. Oh, then you run over it, and Kvaratskhelia!
2 goals. At Bayern's own stadium, he walked into Allianz Arena like he had a personal vendetta against every German inside that ground that night. So why is the world only now witnessing a madman like this? If you only watch highlight reels, you might think this is football built purely on instinct and chaos. It isn't. There's a system behind the madness. The first and most important thing, he's genuinely two-footed. Not a can occasionally use the weak foot, two-footed, but truly ambidextrous. Any foot, any angle, any moment, he can deliver the killing blow instantly. The real nightmare for defenders when facing him is the complete loss of control. You cannot guide him where you want him to go. Block the left side, he explodes down the right. Force him onto his right foot. He nutmegs you with his left the second you open your stance. In that moment, every defensive skill you've spent your entire career mastering becomes meaningless. You were no longer a wall, you're just a helpless training cone watching him glide past you. One underrated but brutally lethal detail. His first 3 steps. Kvara might not be the fastest player over 60 metres, but he doesn't need to be. What we're talking about here is pure explosiveness. The ability to go from 0 to 100 in just 2 touches. That's the exact moment he kills you. By the time your nervous system realises he's gone, congratulations, he's already inside the penalty box.
Mourinho beaten to it. Little confusion, but Kvaratskhelia and Lobotka know where to go. Lobotka. Raise a counter from Napoli. Politano to Kvaratskhelia.
And this is what truly defines greatness, the way he dominates the biggest stages. I'm not exaggerating, just look at that chart. He delivered in the quarterfinals, he exploded in the semi-finals, and he finished the job in the final. The brighter the spotlight becomes, the more monstrous his instincts grow. Don't mistake that for luck. That's the DNA of a conqueror.
Maradona, de todo, yo le llamo de todo. Es un mote muy original y muy bonito de Nápoles, y es siempre bonito acordarse de Maradona, acordarse de una ciudad como Nápoles y de un club como Nápoles. Y sí, Maradona. Kvara es un jugador importantísimo para nosotros, no solo por su calidad futbolística, sino por lo que transmite como persona. Y eso es mucho más importante.
Luis Enrique even gave him a new name, Kvaradona, not Kvaratskhelia. Kvaradona, combining his name with Maradona's. And remember, this is Luis Enrique, one of the most successful managers of the modern era, personally linking his own player to Diego Maradona. That isn't casual praise. And finally, the line separating a talented winger from a modern football legend. Genius, level football IQ. Watch how he scans space before the ball even reaches him. Before his first touch, he has already calculated 2 or 3 moves ahead. While defenders are still trying to solve beginner-level puzzles, he has already delivered checkmate. Now put the numbers aside for a second, and talk about what he has done to PSG identity itself. Because this wasn't just a signing, it was revolution. In January 2025, PSG paid €80 million to bring Kvara to Parc des Princes. Looking back now, that fee feels like the robbery of the century. At the time, PSG were already a strong team, but they were trapped inside one massive problem. Post Mbappé, PSG still had elite quality through players like Dembele and Barcola, but they lacked a decider. They lacked someone capable of carrying the entire team through football's darkest moments. A ghost that terrified defenders in 1v1 situations. A player who could make an entire stadium hold its breath every time he touched the ball. Then, Kvara arrived, and he filled that void like the final piece of destiny itself.
I think he already has been the best, one of the best wingers in the world from his Napoli days. All credit to that guy that found him. We've gotten used to Khvicha getting in those positions and being automatic.
When I look at him as well, I think he's different from the other wingers. Just the way his physicality is different. The way he plays as a winger is different. When I think of him, I don't necessarily think of him putting in crosses, necessarily. He's almost like a winger come striker. Yeah, I think he's an incredible talent.
Let's be fair for a second. Bradley Barcola is an excellent player, but Kvara is a different species entirely. Tactically, he completely changed the game. Before Kvara arrived, PSG left flank was creative, but predictable. You knew Barcola wanted to attack the space behind the defence? Fine, just drop the backline deeper and the problem is solved. But with Kvara, you're completely blind. Is he going to slow the tempo and wait, cut inside and shoot, or pull off a ridiculous no-look pass? He is football's eternal unknown. And at the highest level of the game, uncertainty is a death sentence for every defender. Kvara's presence creates a terrifying domino effect. Dembele suddenly has oceans of space on the opposite flank because opponents are forced to overload the left side. Vitinha and Fabian Ruiz suddenly gain deadly passing lanes through midfield. Even PSG pressing machine transformed, because Kvara is the man who activates it with endless energy. And the result? PSG conquered Europe in the 2024-25 season. Right now, they are marching proudly into a second consecutive Champions League final. And in every iconic frame of that journey, the man igniting the fire has always been him.
He's an amazing guy. Off the pitch, he's top, of course. We know how fantastic he is. I knew he was going to make his big move. Sooner or later, he was going to make it, and he deserved it. He's come up from a very big, humble beginning. We speak a lot of time, and I tell him when he made the move, I say, you really deserve it.
Now we arrive at the centre of every argument. The million-dollar question: does Kvaratskhelia deserve the 2026 Ballon d'Or? Honestly, this is a brutal debate. One that has split the football world into two fiery camps. For the people supporting him, the first and most important criterion is simple: pure footballing quality. If we judge only what happens on the pitch, then every argument immediately dies. Goal.com, the Bibler of world football media, made a brutally clear statement in their Ballon d'Or power rankings. Look carefully at that phrase: a head ahead, or not one step ahead, not one magical moment ahead, completely ahead. This isn't blind praise from obsessed fans. This is a professional evaluation from some of the coldest minds in football media. He isn't just participating in the race, he is dominating it. And what about the people against him? Then look at this brutal reality. I say this with complete respect for everything he has done this season, but we need to wake up. Georgia failed to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. They finished third in their group. They won only one match. In a year where the World Cup will completely dominate the planet during the summer, missing the tournament is a gigantic black mark in the eyes of Ballon d'Or voters.
It feels like he could be, I know you could say this about probably half a dozen Paris Saint-Germain players, but I honestly think that Kvaratskhelia should win a Ballon d'Or. I really do. I just think he's been amazing. Just absolutely unreal. He feels like just such a perfect footballer. Brilliant decision making, unreal stats, unreal delivery. Just up there.
Because this is the cruel equation. His rivals include Harry Kane, who could potentially win the World Cup with England; Dembele, who could retain the Ballon d'Or if France make a deep run; Lamine Yamal, a generational talent; and Kylian Mbappé, with 47 goals this season and still chasing the first Ballon d'Or of his career. What do they all have in common? Every single one of them will shine at the World Cup. Meanwhile, Kvara will be sitting at home watching them through a television screen. So does Kvaratskhelia deserve it? Yes, absolutely yes. If we judge purely based on footballing quality at the highest level, then end the debate right here. If the award were handed out today, he would win it. No discussion needed. He stands on top of the football world, not because the media manufactured hype around him, but because of what he has done with a football on suffocating Champions League nights. But life, and especially the Ballon d'Or, never works that simply. Kvara is playing football like a god, but he carries the passport of a small nation. Georgia, missing the World Cup, hangs over him like a suspended execution. It is absurd that we could potentially deny the award to a player who scored in the quarter-finals, semi-finals and Champions League final, simply because he unfortunately was not born in Paris, London or Madrid. If Kvara loses the Ballon d'Or, then it is not his failure. It is the failure of the voting system itself. On one side, you have Kvara, a man rewriting the definition of domination. On the other side, you have players waiting to inhale World Cup spotlight in order to cover the gaps in their club seasons. If Kvara takes PSG to the top of Europe once again, scores in another Champions League final once again, and still loses the Ballon d'Or race, then sorry, we are no longer searching for the best player in the world. We are simply searching for the player with the most powerful passport of the summer. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the greatest tragedy of modern football. No matter whose name is engraved on the Ballon d'Or this year, remember this forever. What Kvaratskhelia is producing right now is legacy. At 25 years old, he already has a Scudetto with Napoli. He has already lifted the Champions League with PSG. He didn't just appear in the final, he scored in it. And now, he stands on the edge of history with a second consecutive Champions League final, after already smashing this club's European records into pieces. It is time to stop using phrases like young talent or promising star. Throw those labels away. Kvara is no longer the forecast. He is the storm itself. He is the main event, the centrepiece, the harshest reality every defence in Europe must now face. And if you are missing Kvara right now, then you are missing the best player in Europe today. Period. I said what I said. From someone once considered the most expensive flop in football history. dropped by Barcelona from their Champions League squad because of poor discipline.
Theo Alemany has told Dembele that he is to find a new club, basically. That's why he wasn't selected for tonight's game. He said, we've told him and his agents that they should leave immediately because we want players that are committed to this project.
To the 2024-25 Ballon d'Or winner. "35 goals, 16 assists, leading PSG to their first ever Champions League title in history, topping the entire League One scoring charts. Simply put, nobody can stop him from getting his hands on the Ballon d'Or. And now he stands at the doorstep of history. Once again, May 30th, 2026, Budapest, Puskás Arena, PSG versus Arsenal, Champions League final, the biggest match in club football. And what if PSG win that trophy again?
MVP! 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 MVP!
The moment PSG reach the summit of glory, the Ballon d'Or, will be impossible to take away from Ousmane Dembélé. This is no longer just the boundary of an individual award. This is the moment we stand before a witnessed history. A man writing the very first lines that could redefine the map of modern football.
We all been saying that in France for a very long time, is if Ousmane can finish what he starts, he will be one, if not the best player in the world. And that's what he's doing only now.
From Chelsea and Liverpool to the giant Bayern Munich, all tried to break his momentum, only to realise they were merely brushstrokes decorating the fairy tale called Dembele. Now comes Arsenal. Pretty great, but are they truly strong enough to stop him? Or will they become the next a victim written into this chronicle?
Ousmane Ballon d'Or, Ousmane Ballon d'Or.
Throughout his years at Barcelona, Ousmane Dembélé was constantly labelled a PlayStation player, the kind of phrase people use for someone whose speed and dribbling skills look so absurdly unreal that they seem impossible. And clearly, that madness never disappeared.
Well defended by Barcelona on that occasion. And a check of Munir who got back, and here's Dembele. Some danger here. Still Dembele with this big pace. Still Dembele, and Barcelona lead.
Nobody can deny that. But the thing that transformed the Dembélé of the 2025-2026 season into a completely different monster, playing football on an entirely new level, is the instinct that Luis Enrique managed to unlock inside him. Throughout most of his career, Dembélé was nailed into the role of a pure winger, hugging the right flank, cutting inside, and creating chances. Entertaining, dangerous, but gradually becoming predictable. Luis Enrique dared to do what his predecessors were always hesitant to attempt, moving Dembélé into central areas to operate as a false nine. Not because Dembélé had transformed into a classic striker, but because within PSG's spatial rotation system, floaters and anchors, his position in the centre becomes an unsolvable equation for every defence.
And in this role, obviously he's not a player to bulldoze centre-backs. Instead, what he did so well was rotate with other players and drop into pockets around the back line. And in these areas, Dembele is incredibly dangerous because he has the speed to race in behind back lines and get on the end of early crosses, but he's also got the technical ability to receive the ball, take a defender on, and carve out a shooting opportunity for himself.
When Dembele dominates the central channel, opposing centre-backs are trapped in a dilemma. Should they step out and follow him? If they do, massive spaces instantly open up for Kvaratskhelia and Desiree Doué to tear apart. If they do not, Dembélé can comfortably receive the ball, turn, and with his perfectly balanced two-footed ability, bury the ball into any corner imaginable. That is not a football situation. It is a death equation with no answer. And the statistics, numbers never lie, and they confirm everything. He is not only the finisher, he is the origin point. He is not only the creator, he is the one deciding matches himself. 2 roles, 1 entity, everything converging into the same human being. There is one quality commentators constantly mention, but very few truly explain the terrifying reality behind it. Dembele is genuinely two-footed, not in the sense of occasionally using the weaker foot to survive, but in an almost extreme state of perfect balance. He resembles an anomaly, a magnificent creature born from the laboratory of modern football.
Dembele spells further danger like this for Stuttgart. Dembele, brilliant.
That pushes defenders into a paradox. Against Dembele, there is no blind side on the pitch. Against a normal winger, you simply block the inside lane, force them wide, and make them suffer on their weak foot. Job done. But against Dembele, the concept of a weak foot ceases to exist. There is no safe angle, no logical direction to show him toward.
Ousmane Dembele was one of the craziest natural talents, because he was shooting free kicks with the left, shooting corners with the left, going to the other corners, doing the in-swing with the right, going to penalties, shooting with left, shooting with the right, dribbling, running, passing. That was like really like on a highest level with 18 years, where you cannot, where your development is clearly not finished.
But that destructive machine was not born from a flawless blueprint. It was forged and reborn from the ashes of failure.
For Malcolm, hasn't had too many of them this season, and straight away problems here for Ousmane Dembélé. This is worrying so early in the game.
But let us be fair to history, because every fairy tale needs a brutally honest context. In 2017, Barcelona threw 148 million euros into the transfer market for Dembele's signature, a world record fee at the time. The entire world expected him to fill the void left by Neymar, perhaps even inherit the throne of Lionel Messi. But what did he actually deliver? Not just endless injuries, there were also late arrivals to training, an undisciplined lifestyle, and terrible nutrition habits. Spanish media treated him like easy prey to tear apart every single week. Then he arrived at PSG in 2023. His first season ended with only 3 League One goals, 3 goals for a sky-high salary. And the peak of the disappointment came in October 2024. PSG removed him from their Champions League squad. The reason? Once again, the ghost of discipline. Discipline. Again, discipline. A recurring cycle that seemed impossible to escape. At that moment, most stars would have chosen to collapse. Usually, that is where the chronicle of a wonder kid who burned out too early officially ends with a cruel full stop. But Dembele refused to write that kind of ending. December 2024, a private conversation took place between Luis Enrique and Ousmane Dembele. The exact details remain a mystery, but the outcome has left the football world stunned. Enrique moved Dembele into central areas, granted him the ultimate freedom of a roaming attacker, and left him with one simple statement: I trust you. And Dembele, since January 2025, that was the birth of a monster.
Dembele does it again! It's a brilliant hat-trick!
He scored in all 6 opening matches of 2025. Even more terrifying, he produced 2 hat-tricks within a single week. One destroying VfB Stuttgart in the Champions League, another crushing Stade Brestois 29 in League One. Want to know the last time a player achieved something insane? Let me save you the time. Modern football history has never seen a precedent like this. Dembele is no longer a normal footballer. He is a new concept that football textbooks have not yet managed to define. His identity is this: systemizing chaos. Inside Luis Enrique's a floaters and anchors structure, Dembele is the supreme free-moving nucleus. Operating at the centre of the attack, he possesses the ultimate privilege to programme the match in 4 different ways. Either dragging centre-backs away to create space for Kvaratskhelia, or dropping deep as a playmaker, or combining quickly before exploding behind the defensive line, or staying fixed to receive a long pass and finish first time. Facing Dembele means facing a 4-variable maze within the same moment. No defender's brain in the world possesses enough processing power to decode it. Next comes his first touch finishing ability, the secret weapon that Luis Enrique has unlocked inside him. The fundamental difference between the PSG version of Dembele and the ghost that once haunted camp new lies in one craft: first touch finishing. At Barcelona, he always took 1 or 2 touches to a fatal habit that usually ended with him losing possession or narrowing his own shooting angle. But now, the ball arrives. Boom! No favourable angle needed, no unnecessary control touch. He swings his leg as if he had foreseen the trajectory of the ball from miles away. That is absolutely not the blessing of luck. It is the product of elite football intelligence sharpened through thousands of hours of suffering and repetition in the shadows.
And I think he's the best player this season by a long term, and I think he deserves to win everything because he gave everything to the team, and the team is going to achieve trophies, that which is the most important thing for a club.
A different player, that is how his manager describes him, as though he was some unclassified life form. And he is not wrong. Pause here for a moment and look directly at the essence of it. Football has an old saying: stats are for losers. Beautiful numbers in meaningless matches hold no real value. True greatness is decided by one thing: what can you do when the entire world is watching? And Dembele, under the brightest spotlight of all, just look at the way he dominates it. 7 goals in Champions League knockout battles, 1 season. One entity standing alongside Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. Behind that number lies a shocking truth. The 2 gods of modern football achieved that feat when they had the world at their feet, at the absolute peak of their careers. Meanwhile, Dembélé perfected it at the age of 29, the age when most people thought he had already faded away after a decade-long war against a glass and the ghosts of discipline.
Crown him, crown him, crown him. Ousmane Dembele is back and back in full effect. Look at this in terms of a clinical edge. 10 shots on target, 7 goals. Oh yeah, the flowers to the king deserves to be given all the way through.
That is exactly why, based on everything we have analysed, Dembele can and should win the 2026 Ballon d'Or if PSG win the Champions League. Let us begin with his extraordinary per-minute efficiency. Here is the number I want you to remember. This season, Dembele was voted League 1 Player of the Year despite making only 10 starts. 10 starts. The players leading the scoring charts needed almost twice as many minutes per goal compared to Dembele. If he possessed the physical durability to play relentlessly week after week, he would dominate the league 1 golden boot race with an unimaginable gap. That greatness becomes even clearer when we examine his direct competitors, because nobody else possesses a package of trophies like him. Look at Lamine Yamal, the 18-year-old genius who finished runner-up last year. But Barcelona did not win the Champions League, and La Liga alone will not be enough to balance the scale. He lacks that one defining major title. Kylian Mbappé scored 43 goals last season for Real Madrid, but his team was swept aside in Europe, and this season clearly does not belong to him. Michael Olise and Harry Kane enjoyed explosive, unstoppable seasons at Bayern Munich, but we all know exactly who eliminated them from the Champions League. And Dembele. League 1 is already secured, the Champions League final is right around the corner. The individual numbers are exploding, and his mentality in decisive matches is beyond debate. If PSG reach the summit of Europe on May 30th, the football world will be forced to admit one truth: nobody possesses the same complete perfection as him. Nobody. Behind the trophies and statistics lies something invisible that no statistical measurement can ever truly capture. But you can feel it instantly when you look into his eyes and watch every movement he makes on the pitch. Dembele is playing football like a man desperate to prove something to the world. He does not play with the mindset of a superstar, casually waiting to receive the Ballon d'Or. He fights as though he is still an outsider trying to validate his worth. as if every match is a furious response sent toward everyone who once doubted him, and every goal buried into the back of the net is a letter written back to the past, to the teenager who once endured endless ridicule in Barcelona.
Après, Ousmane, je sais pas si c'est objectif ou non, j'ai toujours été très excité à l'idée de jouer avec lui. Ça fait des années et des années, mais encore plus quand tu vois sa forme actuelle. Je pense que c'est une arme vraiment importante pour nous permettre d'accomplir nos objectifs. Donc on va essayer de le mettre dans les meilleures conditions pour qu'il puisse réaliser ce qu'il fait en club ici aussi. Parce que si on a un Ousmane qui est aussi bon qu'au PSG, on va gagner des matchs.
This milestone becomes even more significant when viewed through the lens of history. Dembélé would become the first French player to win back-to-back Ballon d'Or titles in the modern era if he triumphs again in 2026. Looking back at the list of French winners, Raymond Kopa, 1958, Michel Platini, 3 consecutive titles from 1983-85, Zinedine Zidane, 1998, 2000, 2003, Karim Benzema 2022, and Dembele himself 2025. None of them achieved it in the modern era. If he succeeds, it would unquestionably become a historic event for French football, nothing less. And there is one final truth nobody wants to admit, yet everyone knows it always exists. The Ballon d'Or voting panel, made up of 100 top sports journalists from 100 countries, has always been fascinated by redemption stories. They love heroes who overcome adversity to restore order. Karim Benzema won in 2022 after years of exile from the French national team. Luka Modric conquered the award in 2018 after single-handedly breaking the decade-long monopoly of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. And now, that same narrative is calling Dembele's name. An extraordinary journey from the label of a €148 million disappointment to becoming the leader driving PSG toward a second consecutive Champions League title. It is a story almost too perfect, a kind of aura that alone could blow wide open the doors to the Ballon d'Or.
Put his up and
And this is the million-dollar question. The question nobody dares to openly ask right now. Could Ousmane Dembélé begin a dominant era similar to the one Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi once created? I will not give you a biased answer. Instead, I want you to clearly see both sides of the coin so you can make your own decision. Let us first look at the bright side, the reasons why this crazy possibility could absolutely happen. The first factor lies in the age of 29. In modern football, where nutrition and sports science have redefined the limits of the human body, 29 is no longer the beginning of decline. It is often the absolute peak of a player's powers. Remember that both Ronaldo and Messi collected multiple Ballon d'Or titles after surpassing this age. The second factor is the biggest football festival on the planet. The 2026 World Cup in the United States is approaching rapidly. The France enter the tournament as one of the leading favourites to win it all, and Didier Deschamps has chosen Dembélé as the nucleus, the central brain of the entire attacking system for Les Bleus. If France reach the summit of the world with a brilliant Dembélé, a third consecutive Ballon d'Or would almost automatically belong to him. The third factor lies within PSG itself, as a super project that keeps growing stronger with no signs of slowing down. The stars around him, Khvicha, Kvaratskhelia, Desiree Doué, Vitinha and Bradley Barcola, are all entering the prime years of their careers. This is undoubtedly a squad capable of dominating and competing at the highest level in the Champions League for at least the next 3 to 4 years. And every deep European run also means another massive opportunity for Dembélé to reach the Ballon d'Or. Finally, and most importantly, he has completely transformed his football mentality. He is no longer the undisciplined kid skipping training sessions to stay home eating McDonald's like in the old days. At this moment in time, this man is living, breathing, and dedicating himself to football in a completely different way. But we also have to honestly face reality. There are always two sides to every coin, and there are genuinely massive question marks hanging over the darker side of this story. The ghost of injuries has never truly let him go. May 17th, Dembélé was forced off early once again because of a muscular issue. The Champions League final is only 13 days away. That is absolutely not a coincidence. It is the price paid when a body with an extensive injury history is forced to operate at the destructive intensity he currently plays with. and the other names in the Ballon d'Or race are still there, even if they are no longer present on the biggest stage of club football. But the 2026 World Cup is approaching, and that tournament will become an enormously powerful leverage point for them to completely turn the narrative around. That story is bigger than anything Dembélé can achieve at club level. So what is the reality? A Dembélé era of dominance is absolutely not guaranteed, but it is entirely possible, and football has never needed certainty to become magical. It only needs great possibilities like this. And finally, this is the core message I want you to carry with you after this video. Ousmane Dembélé is not simply the story of a talented footballer, because talent is something football has never lacked. He represents something entirely different. This is the story of a man with all his bad habits, humiliating failures, endless injuries, and moments where the entire world crossed out his name, who somehow managed to discover the greatest version of himself at the exact age when many players begin thinking about slowing down. And now, he stands only one match away from a second Ballon d'Or. If he achieves it, if PSG win the Champions League on May 30th, and Dembélé stands in the Cathedral of Budapest, holding the silver trophy in his hands, then this story will transcend sport itself. It will become a priceless lesson you could one day tell your children about the meaning of never surrendering to destiny. That is why, whether you are a PSG fan or not, whether you love him or hate him, you will remember the name Ousmane Dembélé long after he retires. If you enjoy our video, don't forget to hit like to help this video reach to other football lovers, and hit the subscribe button to follow for more interesting videos about football stories. See you in the next video.